Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. If you've been with us before, you know this is my kind of informal greeting, and we have almost a record number of people registered for this wonderful webinar. So we're just going to give them another minute or so, and then we will get started. There clearly is a big need and interest in this topic. And we first decided to offer this, Leslie and I, about 7 months ago. And while we thought it was great, we didn't know. You never know when we're scheduling webinars here at the Center for Financial Social Work. We never know which ones will be most popular, but this one certainly is. So people are still joining, but I am going to go ahead and start the recording. I will tell all of you on the line right now that we don't share the slides, but we do the recording, and you should probably receive a copy of the recording via email in your inbox by the end of this week. We also have the recording on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and on our website. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to hit record and do an official greeting.
Communication and compromise, but we'll look at that and what that means in terms of the finances in a relationship. Money talks and why, when, and how to have those. Understanding your partner's thoughts and feelings about money, talking about financial intimacy. And finally, compromise. We'll look at some different styles of banking and some good things and some drawbacks for each of those. Deciding what's going to work best for you and your partner and how to work together towards your common shared goals. But to start us off, we're going to do a poll. So let me get that pulled up. You can see that you can start thinking about your answer. Let's launch that one. All right, so this one, we want to know, when do you think you should talk about money in a relationship? You can say the first or second date, after the third date, before moving in together, before getting married, or after getting married. So far, no answers for after getting married. That's great. I'll give you guys just a minute to answer that. We're getting a lot of participation. And this is anonymous, so just one click of the button. We're not going to know who said what. All right, we're on up to about 80% of you have voted. Great. Lots of participation. Okay, just a few more seconds on that. We still have people answering, so I'll let you have a minute. Okay. 5 more seconds here. Wow. Great. 88%, 89%. Okay. Few stragglers answering. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that one. And let's take a look at what you guys think. All right, can we see the answers? We've got 8% said during the first or second date. Interesting, yeah, and 32% said after the third date, 49% before moving in together. Okay, 11% said before getting married. Oh, 1% after getting married. All right, so we do have a wide range of opinions, but it looks like the majority agree before moving in together is going to be best. Okay, go and hide that. All right, well, thank you for participating in that. Very good answers. So moving along here. So first, we're going to talk about how love looked previously in marriages, which it really wasn't there. It really was not a focal point for why people got married or got together. So our modern day marriages look a lot different than they used to. Ooh, some feedback going on. Papers. So marriage was not about love and happiness. It was more about wealth, power, status, forming alliances. You know, we think about kingdoms way back in the day, things like that, and producing heirs. So politics and money, much more important than fragile emotions. Love was considered too fragile of an emotion to base marriage on. So that was just not part of the picture. It didn't have much to do with marriage until the 17th or 18th centuries. And the example that I like to think about is, I was recently watching Titanic. So you look at the dynamic between Rose and Cal, and I'm sitting there, you know, chuckling to myself. I'm like, they would not be having these conversations about money. Can you imagine how that would have gone? Probably not very well. You know, women were low on the totem pole. They didn't have a lot of say with, you know, much of anything, let alone money. Okay, so fast forward to today, and what we see with our current trends, we see some things happening that were not happening before. So we have a lot of couples living together before marriage. That's on the rise. We're marrying for love. You know, we're not really, most of us are not marrying for other reasons like we used to, you know, for survival. It's more for the emotional aspect. We're also seeing some high divorce rates. And we'll take a look at those in a few slides down the road. So first, we'll talk about cohabitation and how this is our new norm that we see in society today. These are just some percentages on how it has increased since obviously 1975. And then we've got another one from 1992 and then most recently 2013. So a pretty big jump with cohabitation preceding marriage. So these are couples that are living together before they get married. This is some information from census data in 2012. If you take a look over here at our graph, we see that 84% of people moved in to test compatibility. So we see a lot more couples that are just testing the waters to see if they even want to get married, see if that's even something that they want to do later on. And so we can just read some of this data here. The 7.8 million couples living together without walking down the aisle compared to 2.9 million in 1996. 2/3 of couples married in 2012 shared a home together for more than 2 years before marriage. So pretty commonplace nowadays. It's more rare to hear of couples moving in together after marriage, whereas before that wasn't quite the case. So this used to be a non-conventional way of getting together in the 1960s, 70s, 1980s. It's increased by nearly 900% over the last 50 years. So when I was digging into this, that one really stuck out to me. I was like, wow, I knew it was on the rise, but that's quite the jump. So some studies after the 1970s concluded that couples who lived together before getting married saw a 33% higher rate of divorce than those who lived together after marriage. And there could be other factors in that as well, but just some of the data. So looking at this graph here, and we won't spend a lot of time here, but you can just take a look and see how that jump happened a little after 1970 up to 1975, and now we've kind of stayed up here at that 0.5 level for the divorce rate. Which brings us to another poll before we get to our next section here. Alrighty, so we want to know what you think is the top reason for divorce. I'm going to launch that one. So we've got your options here as parenting issues or arguments, emotional, physical abuse, basic incompatibility, money issues, arguments, or infidelity. So we'll give you guys a minute to do that, and then we'll take a look at what some of the research says. Okay. Lots of participation on this one, with really one being the main focal point. One of them doesn't have any options or any votes yet. Oh, just kidding, it's got one. So it's about 80% of you have voted. Great. Give it just a few more seconds here. All right. We'll go ahead and close that one out. Looks like everybody's got in their answers. Close that. So let's see what we think of the top reason. So looks like 1% for parenting issues, 1% for emotional, physical abuse, 11% basic incompatibility, and then of course the majority said money arguments or issues, 6% for infidelity. So heavily weighted on that option.
Unable.
All right, so let's hide that one, and then we'll move along and see what our graph here says. So this is not an overall, taking into factor other surveys. This is just one survey in particular, and it was done with 191 CDFA professionals, which I've got down there. It's a certified divorce financial analyst. So out of a survey that they conducted, they came up with money issues being the third reason. Right under basic incompatibility and then infidelity, we see 43%, 28%, 22%. So looking at your pie graph, the money issues were that gold color. So that's what they concluded to be the lead for the cases that they looked at, were some of the top reasons. All right, and some comments from that survey. So the one we were just looking at from the CDFA professionals, they made some comments stating that many of the couples lack the communication skills necessary to navigate the financial disagreements in their marriage. So we're seeing an emotional connection or disconnection for that matter. And it's rarely the math that couples are really arguing over. It's what the money means to us emotionally, which Rita has touched on in her presentation in the beginning as well. It's usually the emotional factors versus arguing over the actual numbers. So now that we've looked at some of the problems, what are we going to do to address that? Which gets us to the heart of this purpose and presentation, is to talk about it, our favorite thing. But before we talk about it, we're going to do another poll. This is a very interactive presentation. So we'll look at that one. Let's get that one up here. So this one is going to ask you, how often do you think finances should be reviewed with or without a partner? Once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, every few months, twice per year, or less. And I bet we'll have some pretty different opinions here, because a lot of people, everybody just operates a little different, everybody's got a different outlook. Not that there's a right or wrong answer here. This one's just to kind of gauge what you guys think. Great, we're already at 82% of you have voted. Cool. Lots of good feedback. Okay, well, it looks like that's about our magic numbers, about 82, 83, 84. Okay, we'll give you guys just one more minute, or second actually. We're going to close this one here shortly. All right, 85% have voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close that one, and let's take a look at what you guys think of this one. Okay, so 28% actually think once a week, 22% every 2 weeks, at least once a month got the majority of the vote, and once every few months, 9%, and a few people think maybe there's only need to be reviewed twice per year or less. All right, very good.
Leslie,
Okay,
are you going to review that? I forget now. Are you going to talk about which is the right answer? You said there's no right answer, but I think there is a right answer. I think there is.
Well, Rita, what do you think is the right answer? I didn't actually have a right answer for this one, no.
Well, at the Center for Financial Social Work, we do tell people that they need to be paying attention to their money, and they need to spend time with their money, at least, well, specifically 1 hour a week with your money.
Okay.
Twice a year, not going to do it. Every few months, we are going to have financial problems, even every 2 weeks. So we don't need to do it every day, but we do need to spend time with our money once a week. And then we really know how much we have, how much we owe, who we owe it to, and what we're doing right and not so good with our money. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's okay. So there is a right answer. It's the first option. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hide that one. And we'll move on here. So first, we'll look at why we avoid talking about money. So for each of us, that could look a little different, but some of the general reasons that we do not talk about money is because we're taught not to talk about it. It's kind of considered a taboo topic. You know, you don't ask what people make. I'm not going to tell you what I make. It can also bring out strong emotional responses, can bring out some anger, maybe some shame, fear, fear of being judged. Or we don't even know how to start these conversations with our partners. If we're just kind of overwhelmed with it ourselves, we don't even know how to bring another person into that picture. And at the bottom here, it says 33% of Stress in America survey respondents said both partners share an equal role in financial decision making. So that's only 33%. So that's not really quite where we would want it. It kind of shows you some of that power imbalance that's going on in a lot of partnerships when it comes to money and those decisions being made. Some reasons that we should be talking about money is to understand your partner's feelings, values, and beliefs about money. So what our personal experiences have taught us and how that has shaped our behaviors with our own money. So these are things that you need to know about your partner. And also talking about money will help you work towards common financial goals, such as paying off debt, saving for vacation, you know, even just monthly expenses. You know, what do you have going on and what do you need to be saving for or paying off? So that brings us down to financial intimacy and what that means. And this is something that you would be navigating with your partner. So emotions that can surface when talking about money and negotiating the information you discover. So communication and compromise. So here we'll look at some differences between couples who do talk about money and couples who do not. So couples that do talk about money are more likely to have honest communication in other areas of the relationship. You know, this is a scary topic to discuss. So if you're able to conquer that one, it's more likely you're going to be able to conquer other difficult conversations that come up. There's going to be more trust. You're going to feel like you're on the same team. You both have roles with the financial decision making, and you're working together, and that feels really good when you're both working towards things together instead of separately. So on the other hand, we have our couples who do not talk about money. There could be more room for financial infidelity, and going back to the power and balance, you know, one person's making all the decisions. That doesn't really feel like a partnership. You're not going to feel like you're on the same team if you're not talking about these decisions. So when should we be talking about money? When the relationship is becoming serious is what most people would agree, but then how do you define that? So that's why I put in here or sooner. So some of you had mentioned on the first date, you know, maybe you've had bad experiences in the past, and this is something that you want to just make sure that you're on the same page from the get-go before you waste your time. So before marriage is ideal, definitely. And then once a couple is married, conversation should happen regularly. And according to Rita, it should be once a week, which I agree. I agree. It should happen often, even just to look at numbers, just to review. It's very important to stay on top of it. So the basic financial skills of communication and compromise. I have this nice quote here. You can communicate all you want, but communication makes no difference if there is no compromise. You've got to meet in the middle at some point for results to happen. So step one is communication. And I've outlined some things that we'll go through under this number. So we're going to start conversations with money talks, and I'll explain what that actually means. We'll get there in a second. Explore financial intimacy, so emotions and feelings towards money. Learning your partner's personal experiences that have shaped their values and beliefs. So some things that we've already kind of foreshadowed. So communicate even when it's uncomfortable or uneasy. One of the best ways to heal is simply getting everything out. You know how it feels when you've bottled something up and then you finally get it out, that sense of relief, and especially if the other person receives it well, how good that feels. So that's kind of our goal here with getting these conversations going. So here we'll talk about how to start these conversations and what you need to learn about your partner. schedule a money date. So this is a specific time that you're going to set aside, hopefully with as many limited distractions as possible. Try to keep it focused to talk about finances with your partner. So a lot of people like to consider it like a date night, but it's a financial date night. So some ideas for a money date, like I said, it kind of can be a date. You know, you can either have fun during or after. You could go to dinner and review it then. You could do it at a restaurant. You could go for a walk, get some coffee, or just have a special night in and a special meal and then talk about it then. So we want to keep the setting and associations with the date positive. That way you're more likely to look forward to it rather than want to avoid it and have it feel like a chore and something that you don't want to do. A few things to remember as you go into your money date. This is a no judgment zone. This is a very vulnerable spot, you know, for both of you. So respecting each other's opinions is going to be crucial, and really listen. We're not listening to respond. We're just listening to what they have to say so we can learn about their values and experiences. So that's why I put the quote over here. Learning to pause and respond rather than react is crucial in effective communication. And I put a little disclaimer down here that you need to talk about the finances when both partners are calm. Like we had said, it brings out strong emotional responses, but if you're only talking when your emotions are heightened, you're not going to get anywhere near the resolution or compromise that you need to get to when it comes to your finances. So if an argument starts, take a break, revisit it later when you can both be calm and talk about it. If you're not sure where to begin, if you're a little stuck on where to start, here's some questions that you could ask. You could ask them what their parents taught them about money. What are their specific financial goals and dreams? What do they want to achieve? And most importantly, what are their fears about money? We see a lot of behaviors come out of things that they fear as well. So some things that you'll learn about your partner. Put this fun little graphic in here. How different some of the personalities may end up looking. So you've got spenders and savers typically. So you may be married to, you know, one of these, a spender possibly like this guy here. This was explained to me again why enjoying life when I retire is more important than enjoying life now. So he's probably not a saver personality. So with these conversations, this may be something that you may run into. This is just an example of a case study. So on the left hand, we have the husband's story. He says, I don't want to save for tomorrow. I want to live for today. I want to spend money enjoying life. He had a family member who saved up millions of dollars, Uncle Jack, living in a one-room condo, and he never went out. So he never really enjoyed life, and he doesn't want to be like Uncle Jack. On the other hand, you have your wife's story. So her family grew up poor. They didn't have any money for emergency funds. If somebody were to get sick, something came up, they didn't have enough to plan for the future. And so when they couldn't retire when they got older, you know, she didn't want to have to work and not be able to retire. So she doesn't want to be like her parents. So these are some of their money stories that we see that can definitely influence the behaviors playing out with how people behave with their money. So step 2 is the compromise. So under compromise, we're going to look at the money style, so spender versus saver, creating spending plans, deciding where the money will go, so either for savings, vacation fund, or monthly allowance, and deciding which bank account method will work best for you and your relationship. So we'll take a look at those. And I put this in here because I want you to really think about if you've got two spenders or 2 savers, then it's too much of one or the other. You got to have a little bit of both. So 2 spenders, nobody's going to worry about overspending. You may never have enough money to do what you want to do to reach your goals. And the 2 savers, nobody's ever going to want to spend anything, no vacations. So I put in here, use each other's strengths to create your plan of action. So see who's good at what and how you can help balance out each other, especially if you have one or the other personalities. Okay. So to kick off this section, we're going to look at some pros and cons for each type of banking account. It'll give you an idea of just some things to consider when you're choosing which style is going to work best for you. and I do have one final poll because it's been a while since we've had one. So I have this one. We want to know which option best describes your experience with bank accounts. We'll leave that one open just for a little bit. Just 3 options on this one. So you've either shared an account with another person, shared an account with another person, and also had your own separate, so you had joint and separate, or you've never shared an account with another person. And again, these are all anonymous, just curious to see your experiences. All right. About 73 voted, 70%, I mean. Okay. All right, this one's a little more split up than some of the previous ones, a little bit of different answers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out and let's see what we have. All righty, so the first and third one are pretty close, 22 and 24%. 54% you've shared an account with another person. All right, so you've had both. You know how both of those work. All right. So first we'll look at a few benefits and drawbacks for our joint bank account. We'll start with that one. So having a joint bank account can promote trust. You can have access to funds by both partners. Monitoring spending can be more accessible, so it's a little easier to kind of see what all is happening, what's going in, what's going out. A few drawbacks: debt. If that's something that one partner or both are bringing to the table, then both partners can be responsible for that debt. You know, you think about paychecks being garnished, you know, what's going to happen with that? Or the relationship ends. Now what do? You have both names on there. Poor communication can be financially devastating. One person drains the account, and then what are you supposed to do? Okay, looking at our separate bank account, some benefits: promotes autonomy. So you can have your independence from your partner if you have your separate bank account. Debts can also remain separate. Funds are not compromised if the relationship ends. If you both have your own accounts, you can just go your separate ways, no harm done. Some drawbacks: it could be easier to hide spending if the partner's name is not on the account. So if only you have access and your partner is not able to see anything going on, it could be easier to hide things if you've got some big dollar spending going on. Or there could be accounts that your partner doesn't know about at all, which can be damaging to the relationship if they were to find out later. You know, hiding things is never a good option. Other partners may have less knowledge on where the money is being spent. So if one person maybe is in charge of all the bills and they have their own account, the other person's not going to have a clue how much is left or what's going in or out. So which banking style is best? So joint or separate? Much of the research is going to suggest that both. Having both is usually the best of both worlds. So having a joint account and what that looks like with the relationship, you can have your bills and household expenses paid from the joint. But like I put in here also, make sure you know who's paying what, so you're not just assuming that your partner paid that bill that you told them about last week. You know, make sure it's actually getting done. And you can review the account balance during your money dates to stay on the same page about where the money's going. Purpose for separate: you can have a question-free spending allowance per month, and that seemed to be a pretty good idea that works for a lot of people, so you don't feel like you're having to talk to your partner about every single purchase you make. And of course, you guys could agree on how much that amount would be per month, just so that you have a little bit of spending money, so you don't feel too suffocated and feel like you have to talk to your partner about, you know, buying that shirt you saw yesterday. So couples should discuss debts in detail before deciding which banking method works for them. No two couples are the same, so decide what works for you. Most importantly, we're going to keep these conversations going. We want that money date to be a scheduled, ongoing event, and you can use that however you'd like. Some ideas are just use that time to pay bills, review expenses and your saving plans, really just to check in on your goals. Where are you at with where you want to be, and what do you need to do to adjust to get there? So like I said, we don't want these talks to feel like a chore. Do something fun or after, keep the association positive, and just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be as serious as it sounds. So another idea, if you're a visual person, which I think these help almost anybody, even if you're not, you can do a vision board. So having something in your house that reminds you of what you're working towards, what's the purpose for all this hard work that you're putting in with your partner, and just planning for your success. So I like that little quote over here, plan for your success by picturing your tomorrow today. So you can do a vision board, a goal chart, whatever works for you. Make it fun, colorful, whatever you'd like. Pictures, anything. So when you're using these money dates to look at your ongoing goals and what you want to work towards, talk about what's not working and what is. Is your banking style still matching what you guys need? Is your savings plan still feasible? How is your communication going? And adjust that strategy as needed. So any upcoming expenses coming ahead, you can plan for those. So I know loss of job, you may not be able to plan for that, but in some cases you may know it's coming. So adjusting as needed for pregnancy, unexpected large expenses, anything that life throws at you. If you have a plan, you're going to feel better about tackling it. So creating new goals as you complete the goals that you had originally set for yourself. All of that are good. Those are good things to do when you're continuing your money date talks. Without goals, you plan to fail by failing to plan. That is a quote that I live by. Fully believe in adjusting. Have a good idea of where you want to be, but don't be afraid to adjust as you need to. Your method can definitely change if need be. If a couple is unable to find resolution on your own, you discover maybe you guys can't communicate and you really need some help with that, don't be afraid to seek professional assistance. That's what they're there for. Anything that's a barrier to getting to where you want to be, you can always seek an outside source as well. So here's just a few things that are happening that are already getting this ball rolling. And obviously we have the Center for Financial Social Work. We're training professionals to help clients reach that financial well-being. Resources available for anybody, not even just professionals. It's very, very accessible. And here we've got a few other social work blogs and webinars available if you wanted to do some other research on your own that are similar to today's topic. You can look at those. And then I just included down here what some other places were doing I thought was really neat. We've got the Financial Therapy Association established in 2010. And a lot of educational institutions they're adding classes to address the psychology and behavior of personal finance. So they see that the blend needs to happen, so they're getting that integrated into a lot of the coursework. Very cool things happening. And in closing, I will leave you with this quote. Let me take a second to read that one. And that's the end of my presentation. So just wanted to thank you guys for having me. And there is a handout available. It should be under where that heading that says handouts. And that's just the resources. If you wanted to look at any of the articles, you're welcome to dig a little deeper if you'd like. And I think I will hand it back over to Rita and we can do our questions and answers.
Okay, Leslie, I don't think I'm the only one that thought that was terrific because you had over 200 people stay with you. I can't thank you enough. That was really good information. And we do have a bunch of questions, but before we get to them, let me just share with everybody that next month we have a speaker from Experian, their educational director, will be answering questions about credit and debt. And then in May, we have Understanding the Future of Money, which is really a very interesting topic. So you may want to register for those. Here, we now offer a Beginning Your Personal Journey of Financial Self-Discovery. It's a free download from our website. We have January and February months have already, they're there. You can download them and use them with your clients. And as I mentioned earlier, later this month, we will be launching our brand new Financial Social Work ebook. And it has some of our newer, more recent research and information. This is the certification basics, and then we will go ahead and start the questions and answers. There are 5 workbooks, and we do have a payment plan available, and the certification does include 20 CEUs from the National Association of Social Workers. Financial social work is in Wikipedia. It's practiced across the country and around the world, and we are in the online encyclopedia of social work. So here we are. Let's go ahead and open up the questions. Okay. If you have questions, you can still send those over to us and we'll try to answer them. Do you have any data on the financial issues and psychological challenges working with victims of human trafficking? I'm assuming you don't, Leslie?
I do not know. I didn't look at any specific population like that.
And that's certainly understandable. I did want to point out that we did have a speaker on human trafficking probably over a year ago. So you can go to our YouTube channel or our Facebook, but our YouTube channel is probably the best place to find that recording. Someone wanted to know if there was an answer to one of the polls, but I don't know which poll. Oh, can you show the last slide one more time, please? I'm guessing that's your quote. If you would like to email me, I can reach out to Leslie and she can send you that quote if that's what it is. So on your suggestion on seek professional help, this person would like to know, would that be more like a counselor or a financial advisor? Do you want to answer that?
Sure. So really either one. I know there are some professionals that have a dual degree, but either, just going to therapy to work on communication skills is okay, or if there are specific with a financial piece, then probably a financial counselor, yeah. So like I said, best of both worlds would be if you found someone with a dual degree, that'd be good.
Well, I'd like to point out that all of our graduates most of our graduates are financial social workers, and so they do financial therapy. So that is certainly a growth.
In other words.
Excuse me, Leslie?
Oh, so find a financial social worker.
No, seriously, that's what we're working for, right, Leslie?
Absolutely.
You have a lot of people telling you what a great presentation it was. Someone wants to know if the transcript will be available. The recording will be mailed out by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Okay, Leslie, someone said, great program. I am a CFP and financial coach, not an MSW. Any tips on not appearing to take sides when working with a couple? Do you want to answer that, Leslie?
So not appearing to take sides. Well, I think just being as objective as you can without, definitely don't put in your 2 cents. Just a lot of reflecting as well. So just really listening to both sides and then trying to tie all that together. I think it's tricky, definitely, but just being objective, try to keep your own emotions out of it. It's not the time or place for it. But right, it's very difficult to do. That can be challenging.
Well, one thing to consider that usually needs to happen when working with a couple is to see each person in the couple separately also. And we also use our intakes and assessments and various tools to learn more about each person at the beginning and throughout the process. So it is critical that you not play that specific role of favoring one over another. Is there any couple differences, if straight, gay, etc., in how money is handled in their relationship? Do you want to take it, or do you want me to, Leslie?
I think we both could. I was going to say that sounds like another good topic for a webinar, but I did not look at that specifically. So notice I used the language of just with partners. I did generalize mine. I did not make it just male or female, or, I did not do that with looking at the different populations that could make up a relationship. So what's your take, Frida?
I have worked with all different types of clients, individually and as couples. And I would say there is a difference within the relationship with money and with self, and then with each other. So it would be, best if you could find someone experienced and comfortable with working with all types of partnerships. That would be my recommendation. Great presentation. Please offer again for additional staff. Well, we'll have the recording so you can share that. So, Leslie, thank you so much. I think our time is winding down, and I think everyone really appreciated the information you shared, and all of you can see how to reach us at the Center for Financial Social Work, and if you need us to reach out to Leslie, we can. And we thank you for being with us today. Leslie, I can't thank you enough. And
thank you for having me.
And we hope to see you all back here next month at our next webinar. Thanks so much and have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye now.